Good morning, everybody. Okay.
Hey,
Hey, oh, this is exciting.
right? First ever live for both of us, I think, right?
Definitely. So, apologies. There's actually people here, which I'm super excited about. I'm super excited to chat with everyone, but apologies in advance when I horrifically mess up Instagram, which is not my fault.
It's okay. It's two scientists taking on the Instagram world. It's going to be great.
This is the future. Instagram here.
Cool. Um, well, I'm pumped that it seems like some people are tuning in. Should we go ahead and introduce ourselves? So, I'm Kristen Denninger-Snyder. I am head scientist for RISE, which is the Applied Research Program at Grumeti Fund, as well as a postdoc at Colorado State University. Most of my work focuses on human-wildlife interactions, conflict, coexistence. I'm currently working a fair amount on elephant movement ecology, which has been a really new venture for me and has been really cool. Meredith, over to you.
I'm quite jealous of your elephant stuff. It looks like you get to play around with a lot of cool conservation toys. So my name is Meredith Palmer. I'm also a postdoctoral researcher. I'm associated with Princeton University. And like Kristen, I do a lot with African ecology. I'm specifically interested in predator-prey interactions in complex systems like the Serengeti ecosystem in Grumeti. So the idea sort of being like if you as a wildebeest are trying to survive, you have to like not get eaten by lions and cheetahs and leopards and wild dogs and hyenas and all of these predators. How do you navigate all of those different kinds of predation threat? So what are the behavioral decisions that you make in order not to become somebody's lunch? And then that's really fun because if we can understand how predators affect prey, that also has some important conservation impacts. So a little bit of my work helps with understanding what happens to systems when we lose different kinds of predators, when they go extinct. Or like the fun part then is like what happens when we try and put them back, when we try and do different kinds of conservation efforts. How can we get, the systems working again with all of those different predator and prey functioning together?
Yeah, it's
Um,
such cool work. You're doing such cool stuff. Um, it's
yeah,
really
and we've
fun.
done some of that research and conservation together. We've been working together for 3 years now.
Yeah, it's come a
Yeah.
long way. Like from our first field season, setting up like almost 300 camera traps in like a very aggressive, consolidated timeline. But I think it's probably still to this date some of the most fun field work that I've accomplished. That was a really great time.
Such a tight ship for the record. Like you wrangled so many different moving parts. I mean, there was the equipment, there were the researchers, there were the section managers, like you got all of the cars running, you had us out on different teams every day to different part of the reserve. But yeah, we did 400 camera traps in 8 weeks.
Something like that. Yeah, it was really fun. It was definitely a team effort. So I think we have to give shout outs to Makuru and Johanna and Chiwa for really keeping us on task there. Um, but yeah, it's been really fun. We started collaborating with you when you're at University of Minnesota, and now you're at Princeton, and have looped us into some other connections there as well, which I think in general highlights what we're trying to do at Grumeti Fund, which is to, work and collaborate with experts in their fields in order to maximize our use of the data that we're collecting on the ground to help inform management.
Well, I think that's the really amazing thing, like especially about the camera trapping that you're doing and why it's been such a privilege to work at the Grumeti Fund site is because we're not just camera trapping in Grumeti. Grumeti is part of a really like a cross-continental, essentially, network of camera trap grids and have researchers interested in trying to monitor and understand their wildlife using exactly the same methods so that we can draw inference not only about how wildlife and conservation works in Grumeti, but maybe then use the lessons we learn from Grumeti to help research and conservation in the Kruger Park or in the Gorongosa Park or in some of these different sites that we work with across Africa. So you get more bang for your buck, I think, and it opens up the door to so many different kinds of research questions. The conservation, of course, is incredibly important, but thinking selfishly as an ecologist and as a researcher, being able to compare animal communities in different habitats, different levels of management, like there's so many questions that you can ask by doing what Grumeti's doing and sharing their data and doing all of these great collaborations. There's just, it opens the door for us to learn so much more than we could working individually.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great insight to thinking about like the Snapshot Safari platform, like more widely, which you were so instrumental in launching on Zooniverse. Do you want to maybe touch on like what exactly the Snapshot Safari platform is and how everyone that is maybe going to listen to this at some point can help us out?
Yeah, so Snapshot Safari is an opportunity, and I think I love this the most about the network, is it's an opportunity for everyone to do science and conservation. I don't want to say this. We rely on citizen science to help us process the camera trap images that we get from all of these different groups and organizations like Grumeti that have put up camera traps across their parks and reserves. So Grumeti has 400 camera traps. Camera traps are remote cameras. You put them on trees. They take pictures of passing wildlife. They run 24 hours a day. They've been up since 2017. Millions of images from Grumeti, millions of images from our other sites in Mozambique and South Africa and Zimbabwe. And our research team, so me, the other scientists at the University of Minnesota and at Princeton, there's no way that we could process that information. That information contains so much valuable data about, like we were saying, wildlife communities that could be used for conservation, that could be used for human-wildlife conflict, but it's locked up inside those camera trap images. So part of what we do in the Snapshot Safari organization is we consolidate data, camera trap data from all of these different sites, and then we put that camera trap data online, and we rely on crowdsourcing essentially to unlock that information. So anyone, anywhere in the world, as long as you have an internet connection and like a tablet or a computer, can go to our website and help us classify what's in those camera trap images. So you go, you look at a picture, and you tell us that it's two zebra that are taking a nap. I don't know what you see in camera trap pictures. You see lots of different things in camera trap pictures, but you're actively participating in the research that Kristen and I and other scientists do. It's real data. You're generating real data that we use to answer real questions. If we're working on a project, Kristen's working on a project on elephant conservation and dynamics and movement and human-wildlife interactions, and uses our camera trap data. If you go to our website and look at pictures of elephants, you're part of Kristen's real research, your real research, which I think is just such a cool, I love citizen science. Citizen science is what got me into science in the first place. But yeah, Snapshot Safari is our website. Snapshot Grumeti is where you can find the camera trap data from Grumeti. So if anyone goes to the website, they can navigate and take essentially a virtual tour of Grumeti and help out, real researchers like us do real science things.
Yeah, and I think, so is that snapshotsafari.org? Is that right?
It is, Snapshot Safari.
So then if you click on Snapshot Grumeti from the list of sites, you can help us classify. And so I think we just finished our first season of classification, which took a really long time because it was during the wildebeest migration. So we had millions of images of wildebeest and zebra. Really exciting to get that back, and we're going to start soon on some analyses with that, which will be really cool.
Yeah, what are the first couple of things that you think you're gonna tackle with this data?
So I think we will want to do like some basic occupancy models, which, perhaps for those that haven't heard of them, it's basically models that show probability of where animals are going to be located across the reserve during a specific temporal window. And so I think we'll want to conduct some occupancy models for that season for some of our priority species for conservation. But I also think it would just be cool to get perhaps an idea of the species diversity that was recorded by camera traps. So with things like our aerial survey, you're really limited to recording species that are quite large and that are active during the day. So with camera traps, we'll get much more information on more cryptic and nocturnal species, which will be quite cool. And then I think you and I had talked about too, also doing some work looking at interactions between people and wildlife, and interspecific interactions as well, which would be really exciting.
I mean, this is like the amazing thing about camera trapping is you didn't just have one answer. And I think the thing that, can't be emphasized enough about this kind of project is camera traps are collecting data on everything. Even if we set these up to study elephants or carnivores, we're still getting data on all those cool cryptic nocturnal species that no one knows anything about. We're still getting information on honey badgers and wild dogs and ground hornbills and all of these things in the systems that you don't necessarily, we wouldn't necessarily see on the average drive through the field. So it's just like a lot of hidden secrets to unlock in camera trap data, which I think is, one of the one of the fun things to look forward to when you get a new batch of 10,000 images is somewhere in there you're going to find something that no one's ever seen before.
Speaking of secrets, can you, tell me what is like one or two of your like all-time favorite discoveries from camera traps? No pressure, but they better be super cool.
Top of the pops. Well, I'd have to say, and I want to highlight this one especially, not only because it is incredibly bizarre, but also the discovery was made by citizen scientists. So like, go online, take a look at this data, flag me in anything you see that is weird, and you will be on a scientific paper. But citizen scientists going through some of our data from Serengeti Park, so neighboring Grumeti, made a discovery that had to do with giraffes. And so again, camera traps run 24/7 all day. We researchers are not driving through the field at night because we'd be eaten by hippos, and it would just be like dangerous and awful. So we don't know what goes on at night, but camera traps do. And our camera traps captured pictures of these little birds that instead of roosting in trees like normal birds should, these birds spent the night roosted like up in the armpits of giraffes, which I guess is just like a warm, moving, mobile tree. These birds were oxpeckers, so they have a mutualistic relationship with large herbivores. So it's like snacks on the go. You just bed and breakfast of giraffes, I think is what we called our paper. Can I try sharing a picture? I did.
Yes.
Give a picture of that.
That also has to be one of my all-time favorite discoveries, which I think you're being modest because that was actually your paper.
I have to give credit where credit's due.
No, of course.
The one thing that is, oh man, Instagram Live. This is where all the problems come up. I think the one thing that's really funny about the kind of work that that we do as camera trap ecologists in partnership with citizen science is, it's so rare for me to actually take a look at the image data. I have to actually go on our citizen science platform to look at the actual pictures. Otherwise, what we get back from citizen scientists is, the data that we crunch in our occupancy models, rows of numbers, and not the exciting things like armpit birds. Kristen, I'm struggling with sharing pictures. I'm gonna on this one. I'm gonna keep, if we want to keep talking, I'm gonna keep.
Okay, cool. I think, with along those lines, you're also doing, so we have like that big camera trap grid that's part of the Snapshot platform, but you have also recently done some really cool and innovative work that's, pairing camera traps with, ooh, did you almost get it?
I pushed a button and it all went, sorry, I'm
okay.
People can
okay, but okay, yeah, maybe we can post it after on the feed. But pairing like camera traps with like these acoustic playbacks of like lions and wild dogs, and then like when animals move across the field of view of a camera trap, and then taking a video of the animal's behavior, which is quite cool. Can you, what are you hoping to do with that data?
Yeah, so this was such a fun experiment to perform, and it's really challenging to perform experiments with, I mean, you can probably speak to this too, with large animals that move across like vast landscapes. Going out there and actually manipulating the system is so hard. So like big props to Grumeti for letting me go out there and like play noises at your wildlife. But yeah, so like I sort of said in the beginning, I'm interested in predator-prey interactions. I'm interested in all of the behaviors that prey animals use to not get eaten. And so on one hand, that can be like avoiding running into predators in the first place, which is what the camera trap grid is really good at looking at, because we have the cameras distributed across the entire landscape and see where predators are and where prey are and how prey move to avoid running into predators. But you can't always avoid predators, because then predators would go hungry and they'd die and you'd have no predators and everything would fall apart. Like you will eventually at some point encounter predators. And as I also said, you know, like places like Serengeti have a very diverse array of predators. So it's not just lions that are going to eat you. You might also run into something like a cheetah or a hyena. And these different predators hunt in different ways. And so you would suspect that, you know, like there might be certain tactics, certain strategies that you would use to escape from particular predators that might not work as well on other predators. And I tend to think of it as a dichotomy. You kind of have the ambush predators like lions on one hand, and they rely like entirely on the element of surprise. And as soon as you've seen them, they're just like useless. They can't, whatever, it's done. But on the other hand, you have things like hyenas, and hyenas are just gonna like run you down. They rely on endurance, and they will see you and they will chase you until you fall over, and then they eat you. So, you know, like something that would work really well against an ambush predator would be to maybe perform an alarm call. Like let the predator know you've seen it, let your friends know that there's a predator there, remove that element of surprise. Whereas with a hyena, a coursing predator, you might just want to start running because you're going to be running for a long time. So the cool thing that we were able to do with this camera trap experiment is we had the camera traps, like the regular, you know, same kind of cameras as we deployed in the grid, but modded out, like you said, so that when an animal walked in front of it, it would play a predator call. And that would be a call either of a lion, of a hyena, of a leopard, of a cheetah, of one of the different predators in the system. And then it video records what the prey animal did. And so by looking at the responses to all of these different kinds of predators, what I'm hoping to do is tease apart, again, sort of that strategy that prey use, like what works against lions, what works against hyenas, what are the features of the predators that might help us understand what behaviors prey are going to perform in different situations. So we got amazing data. I think I deployed 20 of those camera traps in your site last year. And again, like big thank you, Noel, Peter, Benson, like all of the scientific services staff. James was an intern who helped me. We're just absolutely amazing. And I couldn't have done this project without them. They dragged me around the field to my camera traps every few weeks. We had to check them very often because they made noises, so they attracted attention, and we lost a couple to hyenas. We lost a couple to baboons, those curious, destructive animals. But
you got really cool videos, like really cool.
And not just of like, we got tons of footage that is good for my project, but I think like definitely the part that I enjoyed most was just getting like a very unique perspective at all of the different kinds of animals that came to our camera trap grids. So we didn't just get, you know, I'm interested in ungulates like wildebeest and impala, what do they do? But we also got, you know, everything from mongoose and jackals, baboons, elephants, other predators, and just like so much fun to get that kind of perspective on what these animals do. You know, this perspective that I would never get as a researcher in the field.
Should we Sorry, should we share a few? See if we can load them up.
Better success than I do.
Okay. Okay, this was probably the prettiest one.
Oh, I love this. This was opening up this video file completely took my breath away. This was the first video I got of a cheetah, and just you've got the cheetah's eye view, right? Like of another cheetah, just like absolutely gorgeous. That one's
Right.
definitely one of my favorites.
And then so you can hear the playback, and then you can see the animal's response, which I think with the cheetah and leopard is both so pronounced.
And it's got to be like there's a whole other set of research questions in there too, because it's predators responding to potential competitors, to other predators. Some of these predators, like lions, are also pose a threat to things like cheetahs. And I don't have enough data to do anything with that, but I love thinking about, what those responses might mean. But you can
Can
definitely see like the curiosity and surprise in all of these different species.
can I show you the one that was actually my favorite after the cheetah?
Oh, please. All of those, are those banded mongooses? I'm not good on my mongoose species.
Yeah, but I love how they all go up into their like little alert position, trying to see what it is, and they all clump together.
Which is an anti-predator response. It's so cool.
It's very cool.
Real data. No, super fun. Which is good because I ended up with thousands and thousands and thousands of videos to watch.
So it's nice to get some, oops, sorry, that was a mistake. It's nice to get some payoff in the end with cool videos then. I'm also seeing that someone is telling me to show the baboon, which is a nice segue into, we were talking the other day about how you not only get really interesting scientific data, but you also sometimes get very hilarious images as well. And I don't know how to navigate. Oh no.
I'm like trying to fly how to share images.
I know. It seems like it only shares from a certain folder, and so I'm not, oh rats, able to find these two that I wanted to share. But maybe we can post these on the feed after the fact. They're, oops, I almost just deleted you from this live. That was the wrong exit button. There, I think sometimes you have this vision of what you're going to capture on a camera trap versus like the reality of what you get. And I think my favorite pair of images was actually something that was shared by a filmmaker on site, Matt Goodman, who sent me one day this video that's beautiful, this beautiful cheetah just like slowly approaching this camera trap. The wind is blowing. And then the reality shot is, a couple minutes later, this cheetah turns around, whips up the tail, and is marking on our camera trap. And so we haven't located the exact photo of that cheetah bum yet, but I'm sure it's there.
Delightful. That's the too personal, the TMI part of camera trapping is you do see everything. No, so much fun. And definitely like if people want to discover their own inappropriate images of animals, all kinds of things like snapshotsafari.org, and then navigating to the Snapshot Grumeti project is where you can go to see all of those images for yourself.
Yeah. And I think, so I just wanted to also point out, you are not only involved, just in the science side of camera traps, you also have done quite a bit of really impressive work with, creating these training programs to teach people how to set up camera traps, how to classify images, run basic analyses, and really with the aim of, building capacity of other researchers. And you were nice enough to share your camera trap lesson workshop, I guess, with us to use in our first iteration of our Women in the Field program, which for those of you that don't know, is a skills-based training program focused on developing skills of Tanzanian women that have an interest in the conservation sector and field sciences. And it was a big hit. We loved using it. I think next time we have to figure out a way to devote more time to that topic. Our participants were really interested in actually learning how to do analyses, which we didn't have time to get to. So a thank you to you for sharing those materials with us. Super useful, so nicely put together. And I'm interested to hear from you. I know that this is something that's pretty important to you in general in terms of, sharing knowledge and building capacity. And I guess I'm wondering, like, what draws you to that, or why do you think that's so important?
Yeah, well, I'm glad I could help with the capacity building, especially programs that bring more women into science and build local capacity are instrumental, like fundamentally important for conservation success. And the work that you're doing at Grumeti and through Rise and with women in the field, I think is going to be a huge game changer in how, like you're building the next generation of conservation biologists, and that is amazing. And I think that's what I love about the capacity building. I think on one level, I get a lot of selfish enjoyment out of, like, I feed off of people's enthusiasm. And I think one of the nice things about leading any kind of teaching or educational workshop is you're there with people who have so much passion for wildlife and wild spaces and conservation and learning. And especially like the work we do across Africa, it's such a privilege for me to be able to work in these spaces. And I can't tell you how much that I learn as a researcher by being able to interact with the people there on the ground. I get so much knowledge and skills from working with them. I mean, conservation is collaborative. It's only transferring the knowledge back and forth is part of the process. And I'm excited to help wherever I can. And especially to help get people who are just as passionate about conservation as me up to a point where, like us, they can make a job out of it, and they can put all of that passion to work, to do something productive and actually make a difference in something that they care about. So I've been super fortunate, like, to work with really amazing students in Mozambique and South Africa, doing things like field methods and analysis. And it sounds like you guys are doing very similar, getting some stuff like that up and running at RISE. RISE stands for Research Innovation in the Serengeti Ecosystem. Is that right?
Research and innovation for the Serengeti ecosystem. Yeah.
I think that's such an amazing program. And I really would love to hear more about the plans that you have for the different workshops. It sounds like you guys have a lot that you're hoping to pull off in the next couple of years with engagement and capacity building as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, going back to the capacity building point, like, I'm very similar to you. It is a very selfish thing where I feel like I get a lot out of it as well. Like, I really enjoy, teaching and mentoring. I think I've also had a number of, like, really excellent mentors throughout the course of my career that have been really generous with their time and resources. And I, view it as part of, when you're working in this field, it is part of your responsibility to try to reciprocate that as many-fold over as you can.
Right? Like, that's how it works.
Exactly. And, I think I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm from the US. I work in Tanzania. I love working there. And I professionally benefit from it, quite a bit. And so I think it's very important and critical to the work that we do to, leave something behind, that's very concrete and related to strengthening capacity of other researchers. And, so one area, I think, I'm sure you have noticed this as well, working in Tanzania, is that in field-oriented sciences and in various, components of the conservation sector, there is this underrepresentation of Tanzanian women in these sectors. And I feel like that is one area where, I personally can really show up, whether that is developing training programs or supporting graduate students. I think that's something that's really critical that I personally follow through on. And, ultimately it will benefit conservation, right? The more representative that the conservation sector is, the more sustainable that solutions are. And, will maximize benefits for people and wildlife. And so I think with RISE and through Grumeti Fund, we've been offered, like, this really excellent opportunity to really consciously build these programs. We're really looking forward to our building opening very shortly. COVID-19 has presented some significant issues with that timeline, but the space is beautiful. I can't wait to see it in person. Can't wait to show all of you. And I think, to me, the real opening will be when we host our next iteration of the Women in the Field program, which was supposed to be in July, but is looking like it now won't be until October. Really have been busy thinking about future workshops we can offer, whether it's methods oriented related to field work, or whether it's analysis and programming in R or ArcGIS. So if people have ideas of things with those of you that are tuning in from within Tanzania of programs that you're really interested in, you should message me and let me know. So yeah, I think it's really exciting. It's a really exciting time. We're really looking forward to getting back in the field for sure.
Definitely, when I was there last year running the camera trap experiment, I could see the skeleton of the RISE building going up. And I've been living vicariously through all of the pictures that you and Grumeti Fund has been posting as the building develops. And I say this as someone who works in so many different places across Africa, like having that infrastructure makes such a big difference. And then having people who are willing, like not only to provide resources for researchers, but also to put in that education and support, again, for growing and inspiring the next generation of scientists, for providing those opportunities. Like, this isn't something that you see everywhere or every day. I think Grumeti is really at the leading edge of running those kinds of programs. So I'm super excited to keep following news of what's coming out of RISE. I've stalked the feedback that you got from your Women in the Field program. It looks like people had an amazing time and got a lot out of all of the hard work that you put into that. Yeah, so definitely, hopefully the COVID situation will sort itself out soon enough and you can get back to work, fighting a good fight.
Do you know what the great part about was about their feedback too, is that we had like the most stellar first 4 participants ever. It was amazing. The interest was huge. We had 132 applicants or something, and the 4 women that we chose were amazing. And I think they did have a great time and they learned a lot, but they also gave such critical good feedback on how we can make it better for future iterations and for future participants, which is so important. And I can't wait to have all of these cohorts that are connected and really building this network of women in conservation in Tanzania is so exciting. And like you said, I think we have a lot to look forward to. And we can't wait to have you back on site. So what are your travel plans, research plans for the rest of this year?
Yeah, COVID's put a big hiccup in everything that I was thinking about doing. I'm supposed to be in Mozambique right now. I was going to do some more camera trapping, some more experiments, teach some more workshops, and all of that's on hold at the moment. So we really don't know. It's just sort of waiting to see how the situation plays out. But definitely, hoping by the end of the year we'll be able to go back. And I'm incredibly fortunate to work with partners. So we do a lot of long-term monitoring, and we have amazing groups like the Scientific Services at Grumeti who are able to maintain a lot of the research while I'm personally not there. So incredibly grateful for them, and I know the science is happening, but definitely I was looking forward to some of these workshops and interacting with students again and doing some of those crazy experiments and getting more fun videos. So we'll see how that goes. But you're hoping to get back in July, October, maybe?
Kind of playing it, seeing how it goes. I'm really hopeful for July or August. I think it'll be super dependent on how things go over the course of the next month, both in the US and with flights in and out of Tanzania. So fingers crossed. It'll be really nice to be back in the bush, and yeah, lots of things to look forward to, I think. Okay, so before we wrap up, I have one very random question for you that's just kind of fun. Tell me, for either your career in science or life in general, because Meredith has interests outside of camera traps, right? Tell me, what is just your one or two most obscure career or life objectives?
Obscure. Okay, so one thing that helped get me through graduate school was playing contact sports. So I used to be very heavily involved in roller derby, which is an amazing sport for women that's about building each other up and also smashing into people. And One of the things I'm looking forward to going back to the States is like getting back into training again, going to champs, skating in some more bouts, winning some medals, doing all the things.
I would love to see you just like taking someone out. I have to go and see one of your matches sometime. It's definite.
So satisfying, and we do it in the most loving way possible. It's one of those sports where you understand. But definitely the last couple of weeks of sitting on my butt, in quarantine has not I can't wait to go out and do something again.
Yeah.
I think that's probably, do I get to reciprocate on the question? Do I get to hear one strange thing about your life that's a dream?
But mine is not nearly as cool as roller derby. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so career-wise, this is something that probably anyone that knows me already knows, but like my ultimate career objective is I just want to tag hippos and learn about hippo movement ecology.
You can't do it.
It's like my biggest dream ever. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't even think of the right metaphor. That would be brilliant. If you can figure that out, you'll be like...
It'll happen. It'll happen someday. And then I think personally, it's I just want to go and hike the Pacific Crest Trail at some point. So if someone can figure out how to give me a 4 to 5 month sabbatical to just hike every day.
I'd be so jealous. I can't even tell you how jealous I would be.
Be cool.
Out there. You've got a good hiking dog too, don't you? That'd be a fun time.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe that's a retirement objective. Okay, so I think I've already taken up quite a bit of your morning. Before we sign off, I do just want to highlight something really quickly that's going on in Meredith and I's world of STEM and academia, which is today has been set aside for Shut Down STEM, which is a day for folks in these scientific fields and in academia to reflect and learn about historic and ongoing barriers to participation for Black scientists in these fields. And so really quickly, just want to highlight some educational tools if this is something that you feel like you need to learn more about. So if you visit shutdownstem.com, there is a whole enormous list of educational tools and resources that are pretty wide ranging, but also a number that are academic specific. And then also 2 accounts that I would recommend following on Instagram. So the first is at Black AF in STEM, which highlights really cool work that Black field scientists are doing. Highly recommend you check them out. They're responsible for the first ever Black Birders Week. And the second is at Vanguard STEM. So they are one of the partners in the Shutdown STEM movement, and they do a lot of really cool work hosting conversations with women of color in STEM and highlighting their work. So check them out. All right.
I think I follow Black AF STEM on Twitter, and they've been posting just so many good resources that, like you were saying, today is a really good day for people like us in academia to take some time to reflect on systemic biases, and there's a lot of really great resources out there and a lot of really inspiring stories. Black Birders Week is amazing. The people that I'm learning about in that community are such inspirations. So yeah, no, those are really great resources, and would definitely recommend people taking some time today to reflect on how we can all be better and more inclusive.
Do better. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, Meredith. It was really cool to hear more about your work, and hopefully we can share some of those funny camera trap images and photos that we mentioned either in the stories or on the feed. So keep a lookout.
That'd be super. Yeah, thanks for the time to chat. Really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun. Can't wait to see you in the field, hopefully sometime soon.
Fingers crossed. Okay, bye, Meredith. Bye, everybody.